Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Career Backstage. My name is Diana Moraru, and I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of Overly. Today, we're going to discuss about finding your why and following your why in your career with our special guest, Helene Banner. So, Helen is a confidence mentor and speaker with a 10 years work background in senior communication roles at the European Commission in Brussels. So she was the speechwriter of European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker and worked in Ursula von der Leyen team to prepare her candidate speech, which made her the first female president of the European Commission in July 2019. Hi, Helen, and welcome to our Career Backstage. And thank you so much for accepting our invitation. How are you today?
Thank you so much, Diana, for this introduction. I'm so thrilled to be here, and thank you so much for inviting me and for setting up this podcast.
No, that is a pleasure, Helen. Thank you so much. I would, before we actually start to jump into our conversation, so please explain us who is Helene Banner. Just I was providing some information about who are you, but I would love to hear from you more about you.
Oh, that is the toughest question in the beginning. I have actually started an own business 1.5 years ago, or a year ago roughly. And since then, it has always been difficult to describe myself because you do not have that one business card anymore that says, here's my title, because you're basically, as an entrepreneur, deciding yourself what you're doing. So today, in February 2021, how I would describe myself, who I am, is I'm a confidence mentor for confident women, because I have been a young woman in, senior jobs in European politics. I've always seen myself as a confident woman, but yet there were so many moments when I felt small and when I had doubts and when I was perfectionist and overperforming. And when I was the only woman in the room, among many, many power players, and had to cope with it. So I'm an entrepreneur, a mentor for women today who looks back at her own story, and I try to be authentic as possible, sharing people pleasing, burnout, exhaustion, everything I've been through in order to support women to become more authentic and find their own path too.
You know what, Helen, you just mentioned about to be really perfectionist. Me and my partner in the business of Coworly, Anna Karaja, we were talking in another day about perfectionism. And I said, Anna, I think we tend more to be perfectionists for other people rather than for ourselves. Because we always worry about, okay, what other people are going to think if this is not really perfect? If this doesn't really look perfect or professional, what other people are going to say about us, isn't it?
Yeah, and perfectionism is so subjective. And I always feel basically when we are imperfect and when we dare to be ourselves, then we're perfect. Because only when we dare to be ourselves, we have access to our full potential and to who we really are, to our full energy, rather than constantly focusing on what others need. But I always say that's a matter of training. We're so used to actually, seeing what does my boss want? What do the others think? How will this look? How will this come across? And I'm in that training myself, but I'm also giving imperfection trainings for women, because I really feel especially when we women who often try to fit into work cultures that are often very competitive, when we dare to be more us and more imperfect, so more authentic, I think we can change so much in our work environments and our work cultures, how it all works. Because sometimes, at least I felt as a young woman, I'm a little bit of an alien here in those, work environments where it is a lot about, power makers, in politics. But I guess anybody knows that from their work environment, where I felt like, oh my God, if I'm an emotional sponge here, I feel like I'm not belonging here. Although I'm a young woman, I'm bringing something to the table that only a young woman can. And how about this is also a major contribution? And when I'm just authentic, how about this is the best way I can do it, rather than trying to be someone,
I would like just to make an announcement, Helen. People who watch us, they can leave any comments or questions in the comment box. So we would love actually to interact with them, and we can, reply to the audience questions straight away. We're going to be really great. So Now let's jump into our discussion, and because we tackle the topic finding your why and following your why in your career, let's explain actually to people when we say finding your why and following your why in your career, what does actually mean?
Yeah, actually, this is always my answer to this question of if you were young again, Helen, and if you could look back, what would be the advice you could give, or what is your biggest learning after 10 years in the European Commission? I was working at the European Commission as a civil servant, as spokesperson, as speechwriter, as communication manager, and it had been my dream to go to the European institutions. But just to put my story short, and I'm sure we will get there in a second, I also quit my career and left it 2 summers ago. And that was because I didn't follow a perfect CV or this so-called perfect career, but I was following my why. And I think this is the most important thing also because we're talking authenticity here and really following our paths. And perfectionism, we may have the perfect CV, and many people do, but they are unhappy. They don't feel fulfilled, or they are, following a path that is, looks perfect to the outside world, but inside they are not happy. And so I think following our why, what do we really want to achieve? Why are we here in this job? Or if you're applying for a job, to really think about, what am I really enthusiastic about? What do I really want to find out here? Why am I going here? Rather than for the pay or for the benefits or for, how does it look like on LinkedIn?
Exactly. So, and I think it's almost always about how you can bring more value on the table and how you actually can create value for, for the society also, because this is really, really important. It's not just about money, as you said, like, getting your salary at the end of the month and that's it. No, how much value you could create for people in the life, in this life, how much difference you can make, in other people's life about what you actually can offer.
I also feel, and that's really comes from my experience as well, if you're working in a job, in a work environment that makes you thrive, where you're like, oh my God, I'm passionate about this,
yes,
you will be successful. You will get there, in the end. It's almost automatic because you're following yourself and your values. And so, yeah, what you're just saying is so true. We will also contribute so much more if we're following a career that is our path, even if society feels this is not, the highest level or, the success. I mean, I think we have to define what success means for ourselves, rather than what society or whatever, what your community, your family, your parents may deem successful.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't have to forget about that. Our potential is unlimited. It is not limited at all. So we can actually explore a little bit more about and finding our why, which is not really difficult. So I know that you touched a little bit about what actually is your why, but I would like you to go a little bit in more deep details and obviously explain us in more deep details. What is your why in your career?
Yeah, I think I will start from the beginning because, I'm also talking to many women who are still studying or who are at the brink of finding a job and trying to enter their career. And I was studying political science and communication, and I was fascinated by the European Union and how it all worked because I'm born in East Germany, and I was just like, oh my God, what they're doing there in Europe, freedom and freedom of speech, freedom of travel. I want to learn how this works. But in my studies, I still didn't get it. I somehow had more questions than answers. And so I knew there was also like a little voice deep inside me who said, you need to go there to really find out. You need to go to Brussels. You need to go into these buildings there and go in there and find out yourself how it all really works. And so that was my why. And sometimes you have this intuition, this fascination, this euphoria. I think this is a really good indicator that you're very close to your why. And the thing is, I ended up in jobs in which it was my role to actually explain the European Union functioning to others. So I was constantly working in communication jobs. I mean, I'm realizing that now in hindsight, obviously. I was a communication officer. I was working in a press office with a spokesperson. I was becoming a spokesperson myself of the European Commissioner. And in the end, as you said, I was the speechwriter of the president of the European Commission. I mean, there is, I was always in jobs where it was my role to explain, express, somehow make it understandable to the general public how the European Union works. And I guess I did that to follow my why of finding out myself, how does it really work? And so in the meantime, I had, in the beginning, I was an assistant, and then I grew the ranks a little bit. And I also passed a competition to really become an official in in the public service context of the European institutions. And so, I had a contract, and I was, proud. That was my dream, to be there and to be officially working for the European Union. And I could have stayed there for the rest of my life. I could have stayed there until my pension in a really privileged, kind of setting. And yet, in summer 2019, I had a little voice in my head again that told me, I think you're done. I think you're done with your why. And maybe
how did you feel that? How did you feel that? I don't know, because it's really important. When you say like, I think I'm done, there been some kind of special signs or internal signs that came, from inside and told you, okay, this is time to move on?
Yeah, I think it is starting. It's like a very silent voice in the beginning. I think it was building over a couple of years, to be honest. And the real voice only came when I was also ready on the outside world to really say, okay, I really need to take action on this now. I need to jump. So the moment itself was, I really, really find, it was a historic moment I had the privilege of being part of. You said in the beginning, I was, at the moment, the European Commission president is a woman, Ursula von der Leyen. And I had the privilege of having been nominated to her team that summer to make her and help her become the president by helping to draft her speech and her program for the next 5 years. We were a really small team. We were working, night and day, weekends, and so on, to make it possible within a very short amount of time. And the day we were going to Strasbourg, to the European Parliament, and where she would deliver that speech on the 16th of July, 2019, that made her the first woman president of this institution, a historic moment. And for me, as a woman, watching another woman stepping into this office and becoming this, prestigious role, for me, that was so emotional. And I felt like, I think I have seen it now. I think I have understood. If I have been in the room when she has been informed, you have made it, the vote has been in your favor. I just felt like, I think this is it. Of course, I could have continued, working in this kind of, in her team perhaps, or at the European Commission, to supporting her, but I felt this is everything I could have imagined to achieve. I don't need more. For me, I'm so saturated, fulfilled. I think I can move on.
Okay, that probably was the time. Probably that was the time when you actually started to recognize that internal and silent voice that was coming. That you are done till here. Was.
But I also want to be 100% honest and authentic here. It didn't come out of nowhere. I think this is the smaller or more silent voice that I was describing earlier. I think it was building up over time. A couple of years earlier, I've had a burnout. I had a crisis. I was exhausted, and I really questioned. Why am I doing this? And I need to reconsider and see what am I really passionate about? And the burnout forced me into an 8-month break in which I really had, and I'm grateful today, really forced me into a time where I had a lot of, space for reflection, for my inner work, really feeling what do I really want? And if I could now, what would I do? And I remember I was journaling at that time, and very early on, I was putting into my journal, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to decide on my own job. I want to be freer than I am right now. I want to be even more creative. And so it started then. And I think it was a key moment at which I started, okay, I'm an official at a public institution. I have no idea how to be an entrepreneur. Nobody in my family is. I also hardly knew any friends who were. So I had this vision, but I had no idea how to get there. But I think subconsciously it was building over the years. I was starting to read books from entrepreneurs. I was following their webinars and seminars to find out. And I guess it all came together in summer 2019 when I realized, I think I'm ready now to make the step. And
brilliant.
Knew why.
Yeah, which is really brilliant. But let's stop a little bit for, to the burnout. I know it's quite sensitive topic, but most of people, even when they moving from a job to another job, sometimes, they can have this burnout and they don't even realize. But how you overcome the burnout? I know we have different feelings, and the way how we experience the burnout is completely different for everyone. But how you overcome the burnout? Because didn't finish the burnout and moving into entrepreneurial world with burnout is not really easy.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of self-care is of course key. And I have to say, part of the answer is also to be totally honest and authentic about my burnout. I didn't come back to work after 8 months. I had quite a visible and exposed job. So everybody in my office had realized that I hadn't broken an arm for 8 months, that I was away for other reasons. And I remember the day before I came back, I had a conversation with somebody who was helping me. And I was like, how do I go back to the office? Do I talk about it? Do I just stay silent about it? And she was like, how do you feel about it, Helen? What would feel good to you? And then I realized, oh my God, I cannot come back to the office and make it up. I can only come back to this job and to the work world, so to say, if I am me. And I'm only me with this burnout. And I will tend to be a little bit more sensitive, perhaps, or exhausted, not so resilient in the next couple of weeks and months. So I have to talk about it to my colleagues, but also to other people. And I realized it's such a taboo, especially in, also in the work environment where I was working in. I was shocking a couple of people, but I was also, I think, helping a lot of people by being open about it. And that helped me so much to overcome it, because only by being open about it and transparent, and for the first time in my life, admitting something like, oh my God, I'm sitting in a meeting and I am exhausted. I cannot follow anymore. So I'm going to take a break. So to leave a meeting without any reason and coming back after 5 minutes was
that is odd.
These things for the first time in my life. I mean, these may sound small, but yeah, it was to be so honest to myself. And I was also thinking to myself, because many people were telling me, and maybe the audience is also wondering, how does that work? I cannot possibly talk about it because it's a taboo. What about my career? What about my career prospects if I'm honest about it? What will people think? The typical question. Of course, I was thinking about that. But I was so clear for myself. I am only Helen with this experience, because this experience has brought me so many treasures as well, so many aha moments about myself, so much clarity. So if any future employer or any future boss has a problem with the fact, or is scared about the fact that I had a burnout or it may happen again or something, it is okay. I respect that, because I respect that many people, it is a taboo or are anxious about that. But I was also very clear to myself, if that is the case, I'm also not interested to work with that person, because if I come to a new role or a new job, I want to be me. There is no discussion about that or no compromise anymore. I want to be authentic about it. And what happened is I got the trust from my, work surroundings. They nominated me to another top job after this. And I am so grateful today that I was open about my burnout. And I'm saying that really also for everybody who's struggling or who may be afraid about that, because going back to a top job that sometimes demanded me 14-hour days, 16-hour days, it was so important that my bosses there knew Helen is, very committed and very reliable, but she had this past, because there was indeed a moment when I had to go to my boss and say, I think I'm struggling. I just wanted to report to you, I'm struggling a little bit here. And she was immediately understanding without me having to say much. Okay, Helen, we're going to take you out of this project. I get you support. So I had amazing bosses. And also thanks to my authenticity and honesty about it, it helped me in the end to thrive. And I think it helps everybody, because it costs you so much more energy to try to make it up and try to brush it under the carpet rather than working with it and trying to become maybe also a little bit of a new identity or person. At least that's what I felt. I can, only be Helen or me when I'm fully me, and there's no professional Helen and private Helen anymore. There's just Helen. And if I'm struggling today, I'm struggling today,
Yeah, thank you so much, Helen, for sharing this with us, because this actually reminded me about when I had the burnout back in 2016, and I used to work in human resources for a big company in that time back in London. And I had the same issue. I felt that something is wrong with me. I was going into the meetings. I couldn't have that focus anymore. Also, I felt like I really wanted to, leave the meeting, but I had the same feeling like, oh my God, what people are going to say, like leaving the meeting was quite a bit weird. So I kind of, came back home thinking on the way how I can, tell this to my boss. Okay, I think I need a bit of time off. So I remember myself, was Thursday. I went in the morning to the GP first, and I said, I went to GP and I said, I feel like I don't know what is wrong with me. I don't know what is happening, but I feel like I need some time off from my work. And they said okay, it's fine. So we're going to give you for 2 weeks to be off work. I think you have a burnout. And I said what is that? Mm-hmm. And after that, I went to the boss and I said, okay, this is the certificate, fitness for work. I need to be 2 weeks off. But how I felt also is because my left hand, I start to do not feel it, was numbed and also shaking. So that was the first symptoms of my burnout. And I didn't know what to do. I was so scared. I went to different doctors to find out what I have, whatever, but my nervous system was affected already. Yeah, which is really important about burnout. So we have to be aware, and we have to go back, for example, to our employer and explain that. Is even quite difficult, but as you said, we have to go and just explain them, and otherwise they cannot be supportive, and they don't know, for example, that you're going through this burnout. Right. So as you're talking with a lot of enthusiasm about your career, what do you like most about your career, what you do now, and what do you like least about your career?
Let me just come back just to the point that you were just making before I answer your question. It's so important. Thank you also for sharing your story, because that we share and talk about it, because I think it is especially this vicious cycle of perfectionists. Burnout often happens to us perfectionists who tend to overperform, who tend to overpromise on what we can deliver, who tend to, I always feel like my overperforming was my security buffer. And in the end, because it would have been enough to do this, but I was always doing this in order to have this security buffer of hopefully making sure that everybody will approve me or tell me this is amazing, so that, you always feel approved. In the end, it is a lot about perfectionism. I feel is a lot about this feeling of, I want to be loved, right? I mean, this is often what we're looking for, just confirmation. Yeah. And so having a burnout and having to admit that, we cannot perform at this level anymore is the ultimate difficulty. And I feel when we do, and when we are open about our struggle, may it be a burnout or any other struggle, obviously, I think it is a huge part of approving ourselves without needing this confirmation from the outside, without hoping for everybody to say, this is, great, of being true to ourselves, no matter what they think.
And also to be kind with ourselves, because sometimes we're judging. We say, oh, okay, I'm supposed to do that. I'm supposed to follow this. I'm supposed to be more careful about this. But sometimes we're quite harsh with ourselves, even when we, going through burnout.
Yeah, and I also felt being open about it has actually increased my confidence. Of course, we have to go over the bump of, oh my God, this is, really maybe the biggest challenge, but I has actually increased my confidence because I feel so much more in tune with myself. And also, I'm sure you have been in the same situation that many, many people say, thank you. Thank you for saying this, or you're right.
Yes.
This work environment, it's not easy. I'm struggling too. I had the most amazing conversations. And I'm grateful because I feel if I talk about it, I may be able to help one other person. And so we all help one another to be more authentic at work and to also maybe dismantle some toxic work environments by talking about what is wrong. So
Exactly.
I think there's only, for me at least, there is only, comfort and advantages of being open. And I'm not saying that it's easy, but I felt it was one of the biggest, jumps in my self-confidence that I've had so far to overcome this, and to being able to help others with it today is, it means a lot.
Since 2016, I went through this burnout. Now, for me, it's quite easy, for example, to talk to people. Even at Halt International Business School, where I'm doing my exec MBA. So from beginning, I used to do the MBA, and then I switched to exec MBA. And when I used to do the MBA in the first 2-3 weeks in October, I remember that I also ended up with burnout. And I was recognizing this in front of my teammates. I said, I think, guys, I really apologize. I feel like I cannot concentrate and I cannot get focused on our particular tasks. So I feel like I need a little bit more time to digest all the information that we discuss here, if you don't mind. For example, leave a bit more space and time for me to do that, and just I really want to bring contributions on the table. And because I really was honest, people start kind of thinking and also understanding what and how burnout is manifesting to different people, and was really brilliant. I could see that kind of support, help, and compassion from my teammates, which was brilliant. So
and so just to come in there is it's so important, I think, to say to everybody who is struggling, and I guess many of us are struggling right now in the circumstances that we are in right now, that it's possible to get out of there and to overcome the crisis if we are in a crisis. When we are in there, and I also had a severe depression, you always feel like, oh my God, I'm a lost case. How will I ever be able to work again? And you have so many doubts. And I think it's important to spread the message. You are growing your wings right now.
Oh,
You're growing like crazy. I mean, it's so hard to see when you're inside. It is so difficult. You're trying to survive. But this all is, growing like crazy to come out shining. And I can recommend to everybody, if you can, to look into this and not try to come back to your workplace and try to see through or, try to make it somehow, but to change something, because you will come out so much bigger and more successful afterwards. And I feel the biggest gift is me as a person having, grown and having found myself. And I think in every crisis, there is a little message, there is a little gift. And if we dare to see it and to go there, I think we will, it's a gift that keeps on giving. I'm still benefiting from my burnout today, I have to say. I learned so much.
You feel more confident to talk to people, to spread the word, which obviously for us sometimes to have this kind of courage to speak our mind and speak up is not really easy.
And I think that is very much related to finding our why. I think that's why I found it good that we talked about burnout today too, because I think it is one of the reasons why I was ready, maybe at the highest level of my career, at the dream position that I could have ever imagined myself during my studies, to say no to my career and to say yes to myself, and to say I think I need something else, and to really have sense also, to listen to the intuition that said, is it possible that this chapter is closed now? Even if on paper I could stay here, until my pension age, and that this may be the first page of a new book that I'm writing. Because in my case, it was supporting Ursula von der Leyen, the first woman president of the European Commission, to get into that post. it was so inspiring to me to see her courage, to see her boldness, her bravery. And it inspired me to say, if I can support her at this level, maybe this was the first page of my new book of supporting women and supporting women to become part of the table here, of decision-making roles, or of having the courage to show up for themselves and to get there. And I guess that's my new why that I have in my mentoring business, to support women to go their own path, and to listen to their inner voice, and to, show up for themselves rather than try to fit in to a work culture that may not really be for them, or where they think this is success because everybody's saying it, but where I don't feel it. I really feel this inner success feeling. That is when you are on the path of your why. And as a little disclaimer, I always feel like you only see that in hindsight. So it's, very easy maybe for me to say now, but I want to share the story because I feel sometimes we're in something and we don't really see what it is. But you have this small voice or intuition, and I can only, encourage everybody to follow it, or to take it seriously, at least to listen. It's very, very valuable as an advisor.
Yeah, I can feel and I can see how passionate you are in what you do. Is there anything that is missing from your career?
To be honest, for the time being, no, because I feel I'm very, very true to myself during what I have done. I wanted to go to Brussels in order to find out about the European Union and do that. And I was in, so much in that I even, got exhausted with my burnout. And then I also quit at a certain point in order to now do what I'm passionate about. And I also feel what I'm doing now, it is a project, but let's see where it takes me in 2 or 3 years, to continue being true to myself. And also, talking very openly about, your economic situation and your financial situation. My financial situation is certainly not the way it was when I was, in this, secure job and in this job environment. But I'm so much more fulfilled now because I can, decide on my own work day. I can, have more freedom about how and where I work. And I feel, this is so honest to myself. So even if, my personal situation may have changed, I'm so confident that I will be able to make it if I just follow this and trust the process. Because, to come back to what we said earlier, I think when you're true to yourself and you follow your why, you can only be successful. You can only learn and go your path. And I'm really a fan of total honesty to yourself and bluntness, because otherwise I will be unhappy. And I can now feel, and I have a very, very good sense now, even when I work on projects now in my own business, where I'm like, this feels really hard. I tend to postpone it and I tend to procrastinate. And then I'm like, is it possible, Helen, that this is not what you really want to do and you're only doing that for whatever, to get a certain project done? And so it's very good to check in with yourself all the time. So I feel like, if anything, I'm really fulfilling myself, and I also feel I'm responsible for that in my career, so that nothing is missing. And I also feel, yes, it's our responsibility. I feel, and I hear everybody who says it's a crisis and I cannot just quit my job, right? I totally understand that. But I still want to say, I think we all have it in our own hands, as long as we're healthy, to fulfill our own, career path, and to overcome the expectations, maybe also by our parents, by our community. In my case, nobody from my community has been an entrepreneur. So, but I still felt it's my responsibility to myself to follow that path. Even if in my, life, I don't have a role model. I found my role models in, books and webinars and so on. And I knew it was possible somehow. Yeah. And I think this is how we are, we are responsible. We are in the driving seat. And if we are putting ourselves in the driving seat, we can also succeed in that way.
Of course, and at least if you action, and if you give if you obviously also leave your creativity to flow, you always will going to find ways how you can, proceed, and how you can make even money and anything like that, because you're going to be in that position, in that circle where you're going to think, okay, what is the next step that I can do, how I can overcome this, how I can bring more value to my target, for example. So, and you're coming up with the solutions always,
Yeah.
and when you do with passion, people are going to come to you always because they need you.
Yeah, and I also often think, our boss may be picking us for a certain job if you are employed, but we also have the freedom to pick our boss. We should also take care of the fact that our work environment is in a way that we can thrive, that we can fulfill our potential, that we don't feel small. I think, that we are being respected at work. I think all of these things are our responsibility. And if they are not fulfilled in the work environment that you're working in, of course, I'm not saying it's easy to change jobs and to change careers, but this is the inner voice, it's building over months sometimes. And it's good to listen to it. In the beginning, it's very silent, and then it becomes bigger, and sometimes you get a brick on your head to tell you time to change, time to do something. Because I think we deserve, and especially I'm also telling that to all the ladies listening, we deserve, to take our space and to go our path. It's not only about pleasing everybody else, but pleasing ourselves and putting ourselves first and our needs. And I think this is, let's talk about these things, because I myself, I was somebody who was rather trying to fit in order to be hopefully respected, rather than saying, but I need this. And how about why are people staring at me just because I'm young? Or why is it such a competitive, dismissive, work environment here? In the beginning, I was accepting all of that as taking for granted. And today I'm like, is it possible that this is outdated and or that this is simply not my work environment? And in order to change it, you can fight from inside and say, okay, I'm gonna make my voice heard, and I'm gonna ask. Or in my case, I stepped out and say, I'm going to create my own work environment. And I also think, as an entrepreneur, we are creating our own economy. I mean, we're changing also work cultures by creating our own businesses, especially female businesses. I think we are changing a lot in how our economy operates, how we talk to clients, and so on. So I can only, recommend to everybody who feels that little inner voice to try, because it's such a fantastic journey, also on a personal development journey, on a personal development level, to become an entrepreneur, to find out more about what you need. Because as an entrepreneur, I don't know how you feel about that. I constantly have to check in with myself. What do I need? And what does feel good and what doesn't feel good? And I have to be honest to myself. Otherwise, I cannot run this business.
Me too. I mean, for me, what is really important is kind of reevaluating myself, and especially reevaluating my values. What is really important for me. And to be true with myself, as you said, it's really, really important. And what I really enjoy doing most, what I don't really enjoy to do most, because this is also, it's really important, and what is missing, and how I can fulfill that part that is missing, for example, and how I feel, how comfortable I feel from a scale of 1 to 10 doing this, because also it's about that kind of you going out from your comfort zone, you're going into stretch zone, and that is the way where you create a lot of things, and you start taking actions in stretch zone, and this is how the result is coming. But also, it's important, kind of, check on yourself. Like, I would say maybe usually I was checking always on a task that I was delivering, like webinar or training or whatever. And this can be like every day, or this can be like once a week. It depends. But it's really good to go back and check on yourself how you feel about this, because even on this entrepreneurial journey, we have to see what is really important for us, how we feel about, sometimes we don't take I would say we don't take a minute to stop ourselves and think about this. No, we don't do so often.
Yes, and I also catch myself a lot still being perfectionist and still thinking, how will this look and what will people think about this? And of course, that's why I think it's always a training to check in with ourselves. What do I want? And and for me, it has been such a mindset shift to flip from, what is in the interest of my employer and of the public service and the amazing project I was working for, the European Union, versus now I can just decide what do I want? And I think it is an amazing training question on a daily basis. What do I want? Rather than, performing for others or doing something that others deem as successful or you've made it. I only decide that on a daily basis. And I think that's true if you have a business or if you are employed. You decide every day what success is and what a successful day is. Okay. And I really think this is also such an important message I always tell my clients and the women I work with, because success is so often defined by these external parameters like money, wealth, recognition, house, car, and you name it. And I feel that's what I also meant by, I think when we women are more imperfect and authentic, we will change even the economy and work cultures, because success for a woman can mean, oh, I can be there for my children and I can, work or, whatever, 3 hours, 4 hours a day and have a really fulfilled and recognized job. Or I took care of myself today. This is a successful day because we are our own biggest resource and our biggest asset. And to me, from me today, success is when I am in tune with myself, I'm honest to myself, I take care of myself. That is pure success for me, because the outside success will follow anyway. I mean, I'm absolutely convinced of that. And I guess you can confirm that, right? With
Yeah, exactly. For me, for example, success is more, I'm going to define success for me. What means it's not about money. It's definitely about how much value I create for that particular company, for society, and how I can make a difference with my knowledge, expertise, tips in their life.
Yeah.
Their personal life or professional life. This is the most important thing for me. And that I'm going to say that is actually success for me. When I share with someone that something that helped them, to proceed or help them, to build a business or whatever in their life, I feel really successful person because I could offer that help and support to them. And that is the most valuable thing for me. And that I would define as a success.
Can we make an official announcement that we're moving from the perfect CV and the perfect LinkedIn profile to how about we are, the success story, our story, be it full of crises or, personal, ups and downs, but really our real asset is not our perfect CV, but our story, our experience as a person, and who we are and what we can contribute to an organization, rather than, the titles. Or of course it plays a role what kind of experience you've made there, but I find it much more valuable when I work with somebody. Who are you and what is the story you have to tell and what is your enthusiasm and your why about that?
Exactly. That's why
I'm saying, oh, you went to that university, so you must be successful. I went to some of these universities, I guess you too, and not everyone there is, they're all the same, no matter the time.
Yeah, exactly. So I used to mentor and coach so many people, and especially people who finished their exec MBA, people who finished MBA, for example, and they had already an experience in their field. And sometimes they came to me and they said, like, look, I really want to work for big corporations like Facebook, like Google. And, I felt like sometimes people were not ready or psychologically. And I felt also that people, for example, even they didn't have enough experience to put a foot in the door of Facebook or Google. I said to them, and I encourage always and empower them, like, your personality will going to make the difference in getting a job rather than your experience and expertise. And obviously I was, experiencing this myself because I was opening the doors of so many companies, and I went through a lot of recruitment and selection process back in London. And I actually noticed this like a couple of years ago, that what actually matter in getting a job is the personality. And then I start teach this the clients, and I said, like, you don't have to worry. If your personality will gonna fit to that company, you're gonna get the job. You don't have to worry about that. And exactly what you said, it's about us as human beings. It's not
so
about
well
you.
put. That is our currency, right? I mean, if I can tell it to anybody in my, my top jobs that I received, I didn't have to show my CV to anybody. I mean, I moved to these jobs within the same institution, but people were looking for personalities, for experience, for commitment, for reliability, for enthusiasm, for talent. And they only wanted to see my CV afterwards for formal reasons. But I like to tell that story because it's actually true. I never really needed my CV after 1 or 2 job experiences, because it was all about who are you and what can you bring to the table. And I think this is a lot of our story and our personality. So
exactly. And I would love also to share another thing, like, especially now, because a lot of people actually lose their jobs, and they might be overqualified when they apply for another job, and sometimes they go with a lower position, for example, and they say, oh my goodness, I'm overqualified, I'm not going to get this job. No, you're going to get it. It's not about that you are overqualified. It's more about fitting to that team. It's more about, like, when you go to the employer, show that obviously you are passionate about your job, show that you can support and helping your teammates. If the employer are going to see that, they will going to take you on board, because most of important thing is about you and your behavior, rather than the job title that you have most of time. Because even I posted on LinkedIn and I said, like, a job title is about behavior, is not a rank, and doesn't give you the rank, because you can be, let's say, an HR director, but you might not have an appropriate behavior of the director, right? So and that's why I'm saying, like, we don't have to worry at all about if we are overqualified, if we do not have the right experience, and if we don't have the right expertise, for example, for getting this job. Is not about this. It's about us, about our behavior, about our personality, how much value we can bring to the table, because each company needs to have a company purpose. If you feel, if you fulfill and you can achieve that company purpose, that is really brilliant.
Oh, yeah, it's so well said, because, absolutely. I have also met assistants who their job title was assistant, and so they felt small, as if they were only, and I was telling myself, them, you bring so much value. We need you so much. You are actually a manager. You are, the office boss here. Just because on your business card it says assistant. That's why I'm not so much a fan of titles, because they can also sometimes diminish us. And I think, that's what I did when I was in between jobs and I didn't really know what I was yet before, creating my business. I created my own business card without having a title. And I was like,
wow.
I was going to a networking conference and I was like, I need business cards. What am I going to put on that? Want to be entrepreneur or what? And I said to myself, I'm just going to put my name and contact details, and I'm going to put what are my goals. I'm going to put on the business cards my 3 goals that I want to achieve in the next year. Because if I give that business card to somebody, the person may be able to help me with those goals, and say, hey, I know somebody who can help you. So that experience was so amazing, because I met amazing people who were like, okay, wow, that tells me much more about yourself than your title that didn't exist.
Exactly. And
confidence also to say, I can decide who I want to be. And that's why I also had a problem in the beginning when you asked, who are you? I was like, because I'm not a title, I am much more. And it takes 2 minutes to explain.
Exactly. And East European culture, because I was born in East Europe, most of time people actually address with the title, like, okay, Madame Diana, for example, right? So, and I always say, like, please tell me Diana, because otherwise I feel like there is a barrier in our communication, you know what I mean? So if people, obviously, they tell straight away my name without using any other words like madame or whatever, because I don't really like this. I feel like I'm on the same level with them. Doesn't matter how, high they are or whatever. So I feel completely fine. Do not, having a title. And doesn't matter, for example, what kind of title I'm going to have in this life. I prefer people just telling straight away on my name.
Yeah, and I think maybe this is also what we bring to the table as women. I can imagine that it's possible that men are listening to this and say, I totally disagree with you. Title is important. So I think that women, and that's why we need both, right? I always say, female leadership, male leadership, we need both. I think that women communicate more on horizontal terms. We want to build alliances. We want to build connection, relationship, win-win. And men tend to be more, vertically oriented hierarchy. Yep. And so rank is important in order to place themselves and in order to know, okay, who do I need to talk to get straight to the solution, which is extremely efficient and, also very important. But maybe, we women find ourselves in a work culture that has been very, created or designed up until women came to this, to the decision-making table by men for other men, which is, not to blame anybody. It is just an observation that we as women coming in there and now sitting at those meetings need to recognize and to read. That may be the reason why titles are still important in certain work environments. And that's, I always find value in diversity, and that when women come to the table, they say, I don't care about, just talk to me by the first name. Yeah. Bring a new work culture to the table. And I think this is value when we come and combine the best of both.
Yeah. I even didn't notice, Helen, that obviously, past 52 minutes. Let's just summarize everything what we talk. I really enjoy. It was a really really enjoyable discussion and also a lot of juicy information, I would say. So let's summarize everything in few bullet points: how to find and follow your why in your career. Just, share some kind of bullet points like first, second, third. So people who listen us, they can, this is what they were going to take, their takeaways from
in order to find your why, put yourself in the boss situation. You are the boss of your career and you are the leader of your career. Even if, your parents, your community may tell you, no, you have to apply for this and you have to work hard in order to get there and to make it. You decide. And I think always checking in with ourselves. Am I fulfilled? Am I happy here? I think the message of our conversation is you can change, and you deserve also to be fulfilled and to look for something where your contribution will be valued. And this is how you follow your why, and listening to that inner voice that says, this is not really what makes me happy, even if it may look perfect on our CV. And I think another message is, let's dare to be imperfect. Yes. Dare to make our own success story, and let's define what success is on a daily basis for ourselves and check in with ourselves. Just because we have the perfect title or the perfect job doesn't necessarily mean that we are successful for ourselves. And let's always be honest and authentic to ourselves. That's our number one job, if anything. And then comes our real job.
Perfect. Helen, I would say big thank you for sharing with us this valuable information. It was really juicy information, I would say. So thank you so much once again. It was a really pleasure to have you on Career Backstage podcast. I would just like to share with people who listening us, I'm inviting you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Career Backstage. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, and follow us on LinkedIn, as we have a Whirly page. And I will see you next time on 22nd of February, and we will have our guest speaker, Anna Maria Alexandru, and she will gonna talk us about how could your team and organization benefit from a team coaching program or a team professional. So thank you, Helen, once again, to have you here.
Thank you, Diana.
And I will see you next time, and have a productive week. Thank you.